So here we are with our actor movie app, and in our domain model we have actors and we have movies, but of course in our original data set we know that there's something else going on. We know there's a kind of relationship between actors and movies. In our spreadsheet where we had some of the original data, the way that relationship is sort of suggested is by the fact that we placed this information in the same line. We know we have actors, there they are. We know we have movies, but there's this notion, this idea that there's a relationship between actors and movies. So here, for example, we can see Bruce Willis is obviously in Die Hard, Alan Rickman is in Harry Potter. So in our app, when we've got these two entities, we need to actually model the relationship, what's actually going on between these two entities, between actors and movies. Now, we've looked at situations where you might have a one-to-many relationship or a many-to-one relationship, but this is an example of a slightly more complicated relationship. If we go back and have a peek at the spreadsheet, we can see that an actor, so for example, Alan Rickman, an actor can obviously be in more than one movie. So Alan Rickman is in Die Hard, Alan Rickman is in Harry Potter. But of course, equally, a movie can have many actors inside it. So we've got many on the actor side and we've got many on the movie side. Now we can do that in Mendix. You can actually add a relationship here, and if I do a right mouse click I can go into the properties and I can say that something is a many-to-many relationship, like that. So an actor is in many movies and a movie has many actors inside it, just like that. Now there will be consequences for this. One of the nice things about Mendix is it can actually handle many-to-many relationships, but that's not really the way that we do this in most pieces of software, or when we attempt to model this. What we actually try and do is we try and avoid many-to-many relationships because of the consequences that come from that. So let's have a think about what that would actually entail if we take a sort of view of the interface, and I think the interface can actually tell us a sort of message about this. Have a think about how we are going to represent actors and movies with the interface that we currently have. So if I open up Actor New Edit, obviously this gives us a way to represent an actor. Now the problem comes from how would we say that an actor is in a movie. Now you might think, oh well, what we could do is we could have some sort of text box or something, or drop down box, doesn't really matter what it is. Oops, just pop it in here. And it could be sort of the movie identifier. But if you think about that in a little bit more detail, of course what we will end up doing here is we'll end up repeating the actor details over and over again for every time that we have the movie. So it doesn't quite work. Now you can see that in the spreadsheet, where to actually keep that information about who is in which movie, you can see we've actually had to repeat the actor details. So you might go, okay, what about then if, what about thinking about the sort of movie side? So if I open up Movie New Edit, would it be possible for us to place a sort of text box in here? So we could put sort of actor information in here. But again, what it forces us to do is it would then force us to repeat movie details over and over again. It's not a very efficient, it's not a very elegant solution. Similarly then, if we go back to the Excel spreadsheet, you can see we're repeating film information. So not only are we repeating actor information, we're repeating film information. So that's not a good way of actually handling this scenario. Now, I will just add a caveat here, which is it turns out Mendix can handle many-to-many relationships, And there are some really nice sort of interface elements that will enable that. But let's just stick with what we're going to do for the moment. We'll come back to that later on. Because the key is inside the domain model, it's not to have a many-to-many relationship, but it's actually to try and break that relationship down. So let's take this relationship out. And this is the sort of standard thing that we do. Whenever I think about actors and movies, and you think about it and you go, okay, actually, what's really going on is, in fact, we know that an actor is in many movies and a movie has many actors in it, but there's actually an entity in the middle. So what we can do is, if I just move movie over slightly and add an entity into the middle of this, here we go. What we can do is, if we think about what's actually going on inside, in between the actor and the movie, we realise there's actually something else going on, and often you'll be able to sort of think about it and articulate it and be able to come up with a name. In this scenario, we could say that there's a cast, if you like. Actors are in cast lists for movies, and movies have cast lists. What we're effectively doing is we're breaking that many-to-many relationship down, and we'll actually replace it with a one-to-many and a many-to-one. So let's put this in place and have a think about it. So if I go from here to here, that's a one-to-many, and let's go from here to here, that's a many-to-one, and let's rename this as cast. There we go. So now we've got this notion that we have actors on the left, we've got movies on the right, and here what we can now do is we can have this sort of central entity, and what it's going to effectively do is it will have, and we can use the primary key that we actually set up earlier on, it will have actor IDs and it will have movie IDs, and it will combine them into this sort of central entity so that we remove that redundancy. It's efficient, it's elegant, it's much nicer. Now it turns out that with Mendix, of course, we don't actually need to put actor ID and movie ID in here. That will be handled for us. One of the advantages of these sort of low code environments. If we were actually doing this inside a database, MySQL or Access or something like that, we might have to explicitly drag actor ID and movie ID into here. But with Mendix, we don't need to do that. But what I will do is inside cast, let's add a unique identifier for these relationships. I'm just going to call it cast ID, and I'll let it be auto-generated, just because it's quite nice for every entity to have a primary key, some unique identifier. Also, it'll be quite useful in the interface later on when we're actually dealing with this. So let me save that. Okay, so the next step is to actually build some interface elements that will enable us to actually handle movies, actors and casts.